first of all, let's talk about the idea, which is very original and brand new. How did you get it?
Well, when I began working at Disney as a director, I was developing ideas for movies. And there had been at the studio this notion about doing a story about the lives of video game characters. So, and it had not been, a story had not been cracked for it yet. So taking just that simple notion of what is it like in the life of characters in a video game, I came upon a story about one character, and I fell in love with this story because I thought it was so human. That this very simple, little guy in an old school game is having this very profound crisis in his mind of wondering if this is all there is to his life. Is this how it's going to be forever? Him doing this one job, and in a world where people don't appreciate him. So this was the genesis of the story of the movie, taking this simple man with a big problem, in his mind, and setting it in a huge, fantastical world of action and adventure and spectacle.
So, although it doesn't seem like a usual Disney movie, the idea came from the studio, inside the studio.
What's that?
It wasn't difficult to do it. It's not a fairy tale. It's video game. It's brand new world.
Well, when I started at Disney, I came to the studio from shows like Simpsons and Futurama, and I was invited by John Lasseter to work at Disney. And when I came to the studio, John took me aside and said, "Look, what I don't want you to do is don't edit yourself. Don't try and be someone you're not. I want you here because of you. So do not try to make a movie that you think is a Disney movie. We'll start with what you have to offer, and then if it needs to be pulled back a little bit, we'll make that decision as a group. But please don't censor yourself." So there was none of that kind of censoring or pressure to make a Disney movie. I was invited to make my movie. So the experience creatively, for a creative person, it was amazingly satisfying. It was for my career the best experience I've had to date.
And though not a fairy tale, and you're right, Disney is known for fairy tales, it still has what we at Disney talk about for the types of movies we make in animation, which is movies for the entire family, but most importantly, movies that have characters that are really compelling, that you fall in love with, and real heart and emotion. And I know when Rich first came in, he does come from The Simpsons and that side of comedy, but he said, "I want to make sure I also create a movie where you fall in love with his characters, and there's a real emotional element to the story itself." And I think he's done a phenomenal job in terms of creating the story, and I think that's the surprise in the movie, which is people come in expecting to see a movie about video games and to see a comedy, and what they don't necessarily expect is the way that the movie makes you fall in love with these characters.
And which were the main sources of inspiration for the Ralph character and for the game Fix-It Felix?
Well, for the character of Ralph and the game of Fix-It Felix Jr., I knew that I wanted Ralph to come from an old game, so I went back to the games that I loved as a kid, and those were games like Dig Dug and Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, and I liked that kind of dynamic of a good guy and a bad guy, and Ralph is kind of he's a combination of a lot of characters that I like. When you have the nice little good guy character, that there's the kind of big hulking, you know, uncouth bad guy. It's kind of like Popeye and Bluto, or Mickey Mouse and Peg Leg Pete, or Mario and Donkey Kong. So he's that type of character. You know, he's a brute. You know, but I wanted to make him a brute with a heart of gold. You know, someone that we could relate to, that was big and bombastic, but we knew that at his core that this was a sweet, you know, a gentle giant. So as we were developing the character in America, in English, I worked with John C. Reilly, who provided the English-speaking voice for Ralph. And John, what I like about John is his characters are so flawed in his movies. You know, that he plays these very, very imperfect people, that your heart goes out to them. You know, and I wanted Ralph to be a character that wanted something that we all want. He wants acceptance, and he wants love, and he's a man that's fallen out of love with himself. So as an audience, I hope that we're rooting for him to get what he wants, and he just has a strange way about going about it. He makes a lot of mistakes. He's being a bad guy. You know, it's in his nature to lie. You know, to steal things, to be selfish. You know, to be immature. You know, but as long as we, the audience, identify with him and want him to have the things that he wants, then we have the ability, you know, to make him funny and imperfect.
So how did you choose the iconic video games to include in the story, and did you face any kind of trouble in dealing with the right owners?
No, the people that we worked with, the people at companies like Nintendo and Namco and Capcom, were a pleasure to work with. They understand very early what we were trying to do. Clark and I got together with them, and we would explain the movie to them, and they knew our intentions were good. You know, we decided to meet them on a personal level, not a legal level. We didn't send lawyers out to their lawyers, and, you know, to do battle that way. We met them on a personal level, and we just explained what we were trying to do, what the movie was about, and how we wanted to use their characters, and they were a joy to work with.
And one of the things Rich said early on was we wanted to let the whole studio, 450 people, actually put up on a board their favorite character from video games they played. And that's kind of how we thought about which characters to put in the movie, because we didn't want it to just be characters that we played. We wanted it to be characters that would encompass all types of games from all eras, because in the studio there are people who are in their 20s and there's people who are in their 50s, so we got a sense of all types of characters. So that's kind of how we started originally with thinking about the characters we might include in the film.
Okay, perfect, thank you.